This is Jed Disler, and welcome to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you for your support all of these months since I started this podcast. And for those of you who are just discovering The Piano Maven, all of our episodes are available to hear on all major podcasting platforms. And I know a lot of you have found me through YouTube or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. My home base where I upload episodes is rss.com, but the place where you can most readily find me is Substack, and paid subscribers to my Piano Maven Substack page get free monthly downloads. That's FREE, not THREE. Maybe I should give you 3 free monthly downloads. Hey, why not? And we also have group Piano Maven Zoom meetings every other month. That's something that we recently instigated, and there will be another one, or another one will have passed, I guess, when this episode drops. But do consider taking out a subscription to the Piano Maven, and you will find a link to do so in the episode description. Your support really does help keep this podcast alive and in production. This has been a very busy month for me, preparing for recording sessions and upcoming concerts. But during one of my much-needed breaks from my routine, and this is usually when I go on my exercise bicycle in my workroom, I pulled down this Schubert release on the Hyperion label that I hadn't thought about in years, and the interpretations I find, once again, very absorbing and, for the most part, really convincing. These are recordings made in 1995 of the Schubert Wonder of Fantasy, the 6 moments musicaux, both sets of Impromptus, and the 3 Clavierstücke, Deutsch number 946. And these all feature the Russian pianist Nikolai Demidenko. You don't hear too much from him on record these days, but in the 1990s, he was recording rather steadily for Hyperion. I like his moments musicaux a lot. He takes his time over the first piece, but the moderate tempos never lapse into micromanagement or self-awareness the way that they do with other players whose initials are Simon Bartow, for example. And he plays the second piece in A-flat, the lyrical one, just simply and beautifully. And the third moment musical, the famous one in F minor, it's very brisk and forthright. It has very subtle dabs of rubato, and, maybe the legato touch is a little creamy and suave, but look, it's okay. It's really a nice interpretation. He races through the contrapuntal fourth moment musical. I think it's a little too fast for the counterpoint to register, and it certainly doesn't have the linear shaping and sense of breathing in the great Clifford Curzon version. But, for a purely virtuoso treatment of this piece, it's kind of fun to listen to. And Demidenko plays number 5 quite vigorously. Now, what's interesting is that he takes 9 minutes over the final piece, the 6th moment musical in A-flat, but his beautiful balances between the hands and his songful phrasing never managed to sound unusually slow. There are some pianists who play this piece in super slow, overly reverent motion, and that means you, Sviatoslav Richter. But somehow Demidenko pulls it off. In the Impromptus, the Deutsch number 899, or if you want to be politically correct, you say Opus 90. Demidenko gives a very dramatic account of the first Impromptu, and the E-flat Impromptu is very carefully shaped and jewel-like, with those cascading runs in the right hand having a real sense of air in between the notes. It's not too fast, not too slow. I sound like Goldilocks. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. And Demidenko plays the G-flat Impromptu really beautifully. He takes a real a la breve tempo, and it really sings. The fourth Impromptu in the set is well played, maybe a little matter-of-fact for my taste. I think it could have been more gracefully inflected. In the Deutsch number 935 set of Impromptus, which is also known as Opus 142, Demidenko plays a really headlong and driving version of the opening F minor Impromptu. It's very exciting and headlong. He takes it for a ride, and he keeps the music moving. The A-flat Impromptu is as simple and shapely as its A-flat moment musical cousin. The B-flat Impromptu, the theme and variations, may be a little self-conscious and contrived in terms of certain phrasings and tempo relationships, but it's a fine performance. But the finale in F minor, for me, it's too contained and under-tempo for my taste. I mean, it's not under-tempo and heavy in the way of Grigory Sokolov's live recording. But if you compare Demidenko next to that Rudolf Serkin recording from Italian radio, I think from 1957, I mean, that's in a whole other world, you know. I just feel like this performance just needs to pick up and live more dangerously, and the cross-rhythmic interaction of phrases really needs to hit home, and it doesn't really do it that much in this performance. The three Clavierstücke, though, sound fabulous in Demidenko's hands. He plays the first one, the one in E-flat minor, in the version that incorporates the music that Schubert discarded in his manuscript, and that's just fine with me, you know. There's never too much of a good thing with Schubert. The central piece in E-flat major gets the soaring bel canto kind of treatment with brisker than usual tempos that are never rushed, and it just sings and soars. It's a really beautiful performance. And speaking of brisk, that last piece in this group, the one in C major, just goes like the proverbial wind, and it's very supple and light-fingered. I only miss the kind of emphatic cross-rhythmic accents that other pianists bring to this music, but as virtuoso piano playing, it's really fine, and I enjoy it a lot. The Wanderer Fantasy is pianistically oriented with lots of color changes and tricky bits of articulation that some may feel draw more attention to Demidenko than to Schubert. But he plays the fugue with incredible confidence and a real suave mastery of the notes. Nothing gets out of the way. I mean, there's no real sense of struggle, but pianistically, it's really kind of amazing. I do prefer Murray Pariah and Arthur Rubinstein in the fugue for the kind of virtuosity that puts the music ahead of the fingers. And also, I love the sheer physical grasp and the dynamic power and concentration of Sviatoslav Richter's 1963 studio recording, which is still my reference Wanderer Fantasy. But for all of the little tricks and bits of business that Demidenko brings to the score, he's never vulgar, and I suspect that Schubert would have appreciated such technical confidence. You know, there was that story that Schubert was playing through the Wanderer Fantasy on the piano, but when he got to the fugue, he got stuck because it was too difficult, and he just stopped and he said, "Oh, let the devil play it." I don't know if it's a true story, but I wish it was true. Anyway, I really enjoyed revisiting this Nikolai Demidenko Schubert release with fresh ears, and I recommend that you give it a try. I've posted a link to where you can stream this release and also where you can get downloads. I don't think it's available anymore in physical format. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to being with you for our next episode.